Hi, hello, how are you? Amanda, Seint Artist. We're going to talk about Seint Makeup and my finish. I have discoloration, I have acne scarring, melasma. I've got redness around my nose. How do I get the finish I get while having all of these problems? I'm going to show you how by using color correctors. I live and breathe by these three colors right here. They are always on my face no matter what. I have Y01 for my under eyes. It's the only demi color I use. I don't like using demi on the base of my face because I move a lot, I touch my face, and I feel that demi is very beautiful and creamy and it's a great product, but I feel like when you put your makeup on top of it, it moves a bit, and so then the correcting doesn't have the longevity. Now I know there's other artists who show demi under their 3D and it looks beautiful. They're not wrong, but I'm not wrong either. I like using Aspen and Suede, and I like them because they're dense. And when I put them on, they don't cover, they correct the tone, and then my 3D covers it. And that's how I get the finish that I get. But because they're dense, I feel like they stay where they are, but they also hold my makeup on top really well for longevity throughout the day. Now, I haven't probably given demi a fair shot, but I like 3D. That's my jam. And so that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to show how I use those two colors to correct and how I apply my makeup to get the finish that I get. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the blend brush. This is my favorite brush for color correcting because we're correcting, not covering. This is makeup, not magic, so there is a method to the madness. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into Aspen. It's this gray tone. These are two very similar tones, but I'm going to be correcting melasma with Suede, so it's a little more warm, whereas Aspen is cool. And so I'm going to use Aspen on the small end just a little bit. I just bounce it on. You don't want a lot. You don't even really want to think you see it on the bristle. So we're just tapping this on. We're color correcting. And I'm going to go right here to this redness right here, and I'm going to feather this over. Now, all I'm doing, I have some redness around this melasma spot, and I'm just going to, you see how it just disappears, and it's just the redness being corrected. I have redness around my nose. I have a little bit of a sunburn on my nose. I know. And so I'm just draping this Aspen over my nose in the crease because I get red right here. And this just mutes it. You could still see my spots, but Aspen mutes it. I always go right here. I have a little redness around my mouth, on my chin, up, and there we go. I'm gonna add a little more, and we're gonna grab this right here. See all this? This is all old cystic acne. I used to break out horribly from cystic acne because I used that stay all day makeup where I piled on foundation, concealer, setting powders because I didn't want it to move, and all it did was clog my pores and suffocate them, and it cracked. I just never liked the way my makeup looked at the end of the day, and then I switched to Seint, and it just checked all my boxes. This was my game-changing makeup. I loved it. I have a little bit of redness here from some breakouts. I love hormones, and I have breakouts right here. Okay, so I'm just draping this over. It's not covering it, it's correcting it. And so you can see it's all muted down. I am gonna switch to the spot brush, and I'm gonna go into my demi here, and I'm just gonna tap this on, and I'm just dark right here, and then right here. And I bring it down into my trough just a little bit. So that's all I do for my eyes. I take the fluffy end and I just blend this out. And you can see this blends out really easy. It's creamy, it's nice, and it brightens all at the same time. I'm just gonna add a little more with whatever's left, like that. Now you can see how it blended out really nice, and that's why I feel like using demi on the base of my face when I start adding, because my problems are right on my contour line, bronzer line, blush line. So if I'm putting demi right here and then I'm moving all my stuff around, it's just gonna move my demi. I like demi on top if I'm gonna use it, and if I have an event, I will do all the normal stuff. I'll just add a little bit of demi over top just to be sure, because I'm gonna take pictures early on. But as far as the end of the night goes, I still feel like demi has worn off, but my 3D stays put. So I just put this in this inner corner here where I'm the darkest, and then I just take this little end, or this fluffy end, and I just give it a good blending out. And I like the way this brightens my eyes. I mean, that already looks a little filtered. And that's really all demi is it's a filter. It's a filter. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my blend brush, and I'm gonna go on the fluffy end, I'm gonna pinch it, and I'm gonna go into Suede. Suede is more dense than even Aspen. And that's why I love it for my melasma. So I have this melasma spot and I'm not covering it. I'm going to camouflage it by going around it. And I stipple, I have a melasma spot here and here. And so I drape it all the way up. Now, one side of my face is worse than the other, but I do want balance. So I'm going to grab some and again, draping around until it's camouflaged. You can still kind of see it, but we're going to camouflage it. I have a little spot here and I'm going to go over it just a little bit and you can see it's muted down. Now I want you to think about your blushes when you're putting things on in the areas. My problem areas are right where my blushes are. So I choose my blushes accordingly and we'll get into that. So I'm going to do this. So just for balance, I do have a little spot coming in here and here, and I'm going to do the same thing. And it's more for balance because it's really, this side doesn't need to be corrected the way this side does. So I'm just more doing this for balance, but I always stipple my correctors on. I don't wipe. I feel like when you wipe, you end up with an uneven application. And so I'm just stippling this here, putting it basically in the same places I did on this side. Again, balance, balance. If you're going to do it on one side, might want to do it on the other when you're using something like suede to camouflage. That's it. That's how I get the finish, is by adding those two colors to my face, aspen and suede. By putting those on with that density, it's going to hold my makeup on and it's going to allow my makeup to then cover the colors because the colors have been muted down. I hope that makes sense. So let's get into me applying my makeup because there is also another method to that madness. I'm going to use a 3D brush. I'm going to use the short end. I like this brush. I like using for my main highlight only a little bit more of a dense brush because I like a fuller coverage. I like the look of makeup. So I like the dense end, the short end of the 3D, or I'll use the big end of the buff brush. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to go into my main highlight, which right now is Walnut Contour. I know it's not a highlight. It's too light to contour, honestly. You'll never see it if you use walnut as a contour, but it's a beautiful, warm, cooler warm. Once you hit sandy, you're at the end of the cool tones, and I'm a cool tone. Cool undertone. And so once I get into mango or those darker colors, they're very warm on me. So I like going to walnut after I'm sandy. All right, so I'm going to start in the back. I always apply my main highlight back here, and then I bring it down, and I always stipple it with a little flick to it. Now, if you have maturing skin and your pores are getting larger, stipple, don't wipe. I feel like it's almost like spackling over those pores, and that will draw attention to them. And so I stipple these over, and it just gives this really beautiful photo finish to your face. And so this is where I'm able to cover my problematic areas, my scarring and my melasma. I like to bring my highlight up to my cheekbones. And this gives me a good blending surface. It marries together really beautifully. And so I just go up here and I bring it down here first. This is where the least amount of my texture is back here. And then I bring it up. Whether you think you have a lot on your brush, because of the pigmentation, it moves really well and it covers really well. You don't need a lot to get a great coverage. The more you put on, the more texture you'll have. All right, bringing this up to that cheekbone, and this is where that correcting muted the color, and my highlight is now covering the problems. I don't go overboard covering. I apply as if I don't have an issue. I have a little redness here, so I'm just going to drape a little bit of my main highlight right there. Okay, so I evened out the skin tones is all I've done. I've taken that cover. Finding words is hard sometimes. I've muted the colors, and now I've gone over the problems, and I have evened out the tones. It's all one tone where I need to be. So I'm going to switch to my detail brush because it's a great brush for contouring. If you're new to contouring, get yourself the detail brush. Having these sharp edges is going to help. I'm going to go into Indigo. It's my favorite contour right here, and I'm going to stamp into it. It's a dark color, it's a scary color. If you're new to contouring, start up here. This is a great place to learn how to apply and to blend. It's not a bumpy area, it's a nice flat area, and I just always go on the sides and I bring together. It doesn't have to be tidy and neat, but I flick it into my hairline and then I just blend it back and forth, bringing it in on the sides, following that natural shadowing to your face. And you just need a really light touch to blend it out. Now, I didn't put a main highlight on my forehead. I don't feel that you need one because once your dark contour mats up, meets up with your brightening, it balances out. And I'll show you. I'm going to go to the small end. I'm going to go into Versailles, my brightening. This is a shade or 2, maybe 3 for me, lighter than my actual skin tone. I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to pull it down the middle of my nose. So this color is lighter than my skin tone, and it's going to show reflecting light. That's all this is mimicking. Our contour mimics a shadow. Our brightening mimics a light reflection. So once I put this brightening on between my brows, I can push this up, flip it so you can see right here where they meet, and I can just pull and meet, and they create this even skin tone because my brightening and my contour are both foundational coverage. So I have an even dimensional skin tone with coverage, and I didn't need to put a foundation color on because my brightening and my contour did it. Feel like I've really hammered into that one for you, right? Right. All right, I'm going to add a little more brightening, just a couple stamps, and I'm going to accentuate my Cupid's bow, and I'm going to reflect a little bit of light right here on my chin. I'm on the big end. I'm just going to blend it out, and that's it. Look at that. I have this really great dimensional look here. Okay, I'm going to go on this long end right here, and I'm going to go back into indigo, just like this, and we're going to stamp on the sides of our nose. Yeah, honey? No, let me have a minute, please. I'm doing a video. Okay, so I'm going to come down on either side of my nose, just like that. We're going to draw basically an 11, and you want to follow into that brow because that's your natural shadowing. So we're going to come down, and I'm going to just square it off right here, just like that. Boom. I'm going to leave it there because I still have some on. So we're just going to go to our cheekbone. I always hang mine back, and I pull it up just to give me some lift, and I'm going to under blend. Contouring when you're using an area like this, so I'm going over that melasma spot right here, and I'm just going to tap this back and forth. Now, because it had that density, if I were to wipe, it would move my corrector, but I already have stamped this on just like this, and we're just going to come up into that other contour we had on the forehead. Whatever's left on the brush is fine, and I'm just going to stamp this so I have a bump. And so I find stamping to be better so I don't have a high bald point. Push into the brow, bring it down and around, pushing it down the bridge. I'm going to come with my finger here, and I'm just going to use the warmth of my skin to merge my brightening and my contour together. Look at that. It's a good looking nose. It all comes together in the end. I always take a little extra time on my nose because the nose is the hardest for me. Okay, a little bit more, and we're just gonna go right here. Just gonna structure out the back of my jaw and down. Same here, back of the jaw and down. I really just focus it right here. I like to structure that part out. And you can hide the chins by just wiping a little right here. And that's it. Okay. Let's talk about bronzer. I love me some bronzer. And so that, again, hits that problematic area. So I'm going to go into Bella Bronzer, which is this right here. You can see Bella Bronzer is very cool or warm, and my contour is a bit more cool. And that's the difference between a contour and a bronzer, warm versus cool. Your shadows aren't warm. They're not. But your tan is. And so I'm just going to stamp into it a little bit. It's very creamy, easy to pick up, and I'm just going to hit right on each side, because this is where the sun kisses you first. I'm going to come above, I have my contour here, and I'm bringing my bronzer just above it, just like that. And I'm stamping it. I'm going to smile. I like having a little bit of bronzer mixed in with my blushes. It's personal preference. You don't have to bring it down that high, or down that low. I just like to. And so I just drape this in a C around, just like that. And it helps blend down that contour, which is why I under blend it. It's because once I start adding my blushes and my bronzers, it blends in with that contour and blends down. So if I were to blend it all the way down, I'd probably blend it away. All right, let's do blush. Taffy. Taffy, Frenchie, if you got Audrey, which was a shade of the month, they are great colors for helping if you have rosacea, if you have acne scarring, or this little spot that I have right here. This is going to help. So I am going to take my taffy with my finger, which is a satin finish. It's really pigmented and bright. I'm going to put this right on the apples of my cheeks because I have a lot of scarring that I had corrected, And so I put it right here because whatever blush I put on that's more bold, I'm going to be using Sangria today because I love it. I like Sangria and Saffron. If you have one or the other, you don't need the other. Just going to put that out there. As much as I'd like everybody to buy both, you don't need both. They're one's a touch more pink. The other one's a touch more warm, maybe. They're so close, it's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to tap this on the apple of my cheek because this is going to help keep redness from pulling through. Again, if you have rosacea or you have acne scarring, this will help combat that and keep from pulling through, because my biggest thing is mine is acne scarring. So I don't want them to look pocky on my cheeks. I hate using that word, but I did. Okay, so this is Sangria, and I'm just going to take a little bit of that and I'm just going to pop that up here. A little bit up here, okay? Now, I put it up here because my problems are down here, so that's why. All right, we're going to take, what brush do I want? I'll use the dense end of the 3D, and I'm just going to tap into that Sangria. I always smile so I can see where my cheeks are, not where I think they are, but where they are, because as you mature, they lose volume. And so I just blend it around up here, and then I bring it down to that taffy color, and you can see it just ombres down really beautifully. And I'm just tapping it together like that. I like having a good bold cheek. I like if I'm going to tap something as bold as Sangria or Saffron on, or even Sandstone sometimes, I always blend it up here, bring it down to the bottom of the cheek, and then let that Frenchy, Audrey, or Taffy kind of live at the top. Just like that. We'll take a fluffy brush, and we'll blend it all together in a minute. I'm going to go back to my blend brush because this is great for under eyes. I'm going to go to Versailles, my brightening. Now, Versailles is just my favorite brightening. No matter what shade I am, I use Versailles. How much depends on what my main highlight is. So right now it's Walnut. Two very different colors. So I steer on the side of light application because it's such a vast difference. So I am going to start under my trough. If I were to live on just the soft tissue above my orbital bone, it would accentuate puffiness. It would actually make it look more textured and more puffy than it actually is. So I start down here and then I bring it up. I'm going to pinch it and I'm going to go up right here. And that's all I need. And then I'm going to push on my orbital bone and bring it down. And then I will blend it up because I have maturing lids. I mean, I'm 41 and my birthday's approaching. So I do have fine lines under my eyes. And by bringing this down as low as I am, one, it helps bring down how much blush I put on, but it gives me a more youthful look. And if I just applied it to where all of my crow's feet are, it would accentuate them. And this more camouflages by bringing it out farther, just like that. All right, and I think this looks really good. Look at that. That's a good look. That's a good look. So right here, I have this little spot. I'm going to take a little bit of taffy and I'm going to tap it right on the top of it. Okay? A little bit of taffy right there. I'm going to take my Versailles and I'm going to apply it just like I did on the other side, below the trough and up, because my darkness really focuses in this area. And then I'm going to put a little bit up here, and then we're going to tap this down, and I'm able to go over that spot with my brightening, and it kind of helped correct it because my 3D didn't. I always apply my 3D as if I don't have makeup problems, skin problems after I've corrected. I just apply it like normal, and then once it's on, I'll see, okay, do I need more? And it didn't particularly get all the way covered, so I just tapped a little bit of that taffy over it, and now I'm doing my brightening, tapping on that orbital bone, which is right where that spot is, and then I bring it up, just like that. Tap, tap, tap. And that's it. Is it perfect? No, it's makeup, not magic. You keep playing with it and you keep trying new things. I always like suggesting new things. So yeah. All right. I'm going to go into my setting powder, Vanilla Dust. I love this stuff. I use a lot of it. When you're applying it and you have maturing skin, especially if you're color correcting, start on your temple and bring it in and around. And this will help hold that makeup where you need to. But by starting on the outside of your face, it's not going to add focused texture. Makeup is a texture, skin is a texture. So when you combine the two, texture happens, but you want it to look like a second skin. It'll still look like makeup, but it's not gonna look like thick, heavy, chalky makeup. So I always start back here and then I bring it down just like that. This is the way I like to add powder, and that's that. Okay, we're gonna pinch the end here, tap into indigo, the contour. I'm gonna go right here, and I'm gonna add a little shadow, and I just sweep it over my Cupid's bow, and it just is gonna give me the illusion of fuller lips. We are going to go into Sangria with the multitasker brush, this tiny little end, which is very similar to the small end of the spot brush. I'm going to pick up Sangria and I am going to line my lips with Sangria. It's such a pretty color. Just like that. I love, love, love this color. I'm a big fan of Sangria and Saffron. I just always have a hard time using them. But by using taffy with it, it mutes it down, gives it a fall tone. I know everybody wants a dark fall cheek color for a shade of the month, but I really like this taffy color because it does so much more than just be another cheek color. And I like that it's a satin because, again, it does so much more than a cheek color. Okay, so I've thickly lined my lips with Sangria, just like that. Now I'm gonna go into taffy. I'm gonna go right here. So the color on my cheeks is also gonna be the color of my lips, and it's a very light color. So that's why I like lining with a darker color. I did this the other day with Plum, so pretty. Now it is satin, so it can tend to look a little textury on your lips. Tap over that area where it's textury. I have a little bit of chapped lips from being in the heat. And I'm just gonna tap this out. You can go to, I like the Demi Balm. You can just tap that over. And I love this color. I like pinks. I like pink, sorry. I know people are here for fall. You can easily grab, let's grab a fall color. Here we go, fall color, Sandstone. You can take this color and you can make taffy look like fall if you're wanting. You just take this, add to it. It is certainly good. It's good. If you haven't gotten taffy, get it. It's such a good color. If you regretted getting, or not regretted getting it, but if you missed getting Audrey, go grab taffy. Okay, I'm going to take some setting spray. I'm going to use Saints. I know I'm oily, but I'm also combination-y because I just got back from being in heat. Spray it up in the air and let it fall. And then I'm going to take a fluffy brush. I know I use a lot of brushes, but why not? Fluffy brush, blush and bronzer, and I'm going to tap over my whole face with that fluffy brush, and it just marries everything together. And this is how I get the finish that I get, having all of that discoloration, adding that dense corrector underneath gives me that flawless photo finish airbrushed look, but it's not. It's just my makeup, but it's not thick, it's not heavy because the pigmentation is so high. Correcting is a very thin veil of a layer. And so putting your makeup on top of it is just so good. It's just a good finish. It's just a good makeup. So message me, let's get you color matched. Let's help me help you by submitting a color match. Okay, that's it. Have a great day.